Hello and welcome to This Sacred Life. I'm Shan Vanderleek, Transformation Goddess and founder of transformationgoddess.com. I love guiding women through an intimate exploration of self-study, compassionate self-care, and sacred feminine ritual. I also enjoy sharing transformational conversations with women who've learned to walk in beauty with the strength, courage, and pleasure of reclaiming their feminine sovereignty. Women all over the world are rising up to have their voices heard, and I invite you to join us in the conversation. If you like what you hear, please share some stars and a favorable review wherever you listen in. Today, it's my honor to introduce you to Pamela Cummins. Pamela is an expert dream interpreter who loves analyzing her clients' dreams and teaching them how to interpret their own dreams. Her goal is to show you how to take the wisdom of your dreams' messages to enhance your life and accelerate your personal and spiritual growth. Welcome to This Sacred Life, Pamela.
It's a real honor to be here, and I'm very happy to be on your show today. Thanks for having me.
I would like to begin our conversation today talking about COVID-19 and the pandemic and the nightmares that seem to be on the rise, at least in the circles that I spend time in. And I'm wondering if this is something that you're also seeing, and if you can speak to why that might be the case.
Absolutely. Well, it's happening all over. And quite honestly, we dream every night, and we even have nightmares, at least probably once a week, if I was to estimate. And what's going on now is people are more, I don't want to say relaxed, but they're more confined. They're not doing their daily activities. Usually people get up and they rush around their day. And now a lot of people are either in lockdown, stay at home, or on limited ability to leave the house. So they're more relaxed in a sense. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for them to remember their dreams and their nightmares. Now, with everything that's going on, there's a lot of fear. I know that I can get very fearful, but just the energy is very fearful, the unknown. It's a scary time. And what happens is, especially if you watch the news all the time, it's going to go in.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of people are.
Yes.
A lot of people do, and it's okay to be updated. No matter what you do, it's everywhere. It's on social media. It's on people's blogs. We're talking about it now. It's on TV, commercials. It's everywhere, universally. So it's going to get into your subconscious, your unconscious mind, which will bring out nightmares. Now, I know this sounds weird, but nightmares are a gift because it forces you to look at issues that you've been repressing, denying. Let's face it, many people on this planet, I'm going to be generous and say 65% don't deal with their stuff. And, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and that's generous, all right? Our subconscious minds and our dreams don't care about our denials and our fear of looking at our lives. That's why it comes out in our dreams. So all the stuff that people have been repressing, denying, their emotions, their relationships, everything, are coming out in their dreams now to force them to look at it. And it comes in the form of nightmares.
Sure.
Okay.
And I wonder, how does the collective consciousness or subconscious play a role in our dreams and nightmares as well?
Very much so, because you can be positive and isolate, because quite honestly, I work from home, so I don't have to go out much, and I can be as positive as I want. But in the nighttime, I'm picking up everybody else's stuff. So it does leak in.
Yeah, that's something that I've been aware of. I have been having some really, really wild dreams, and I remember my dreams almost every day. I dream almost every night. I had a dream recently that was just so wild. And I dreamt about this very sinewy is what comes to mind, this tall, lanky, naked, tattooed man creature. I'll just say man creature because I think it was a man who had all of these tattoos over his body, and we were in the same room together, and I wasn't afraid of him, even though he was quite startling to look at. And he was climbing the walls, trying to escape from the room we were in. And at the top of the walls didn't go right to a ceiling. They had an opening that was kind of like almost like a jagged edge around the opening, and then perhaps a ceiling much higher up from that. So it was almost like a really tall wall that he was trying to climb over. And I woke up with a start and I thought, okay, that was really trippy. I
Yeah.
should have been afraid, but I wasn't. It was just more of this, wow, you really want to get out of here, and you need to be careful because it's really, you could really harm yourself at that jaggedy point at the top of the wall.
Right.
And so
Right.
there was my dream.
But also what came to mind, and now I just want to say that one dream can have many meanings, is
Sure.
this seems to represent mankind, and we're being forced into being vulnerable and naked. But with the tattoos stands for there's still a lot of cover up.
Sure.
All right. But meanwhile, you are acknowledging this and you're not scared of it. But most of mankind, let's say, are scared of this and are trying to escape and get out of it and feel confined instead of looking at it directly.
Your interpretation was certainly better than mine, as it ought to be. But that was pretty much what I had summed up, is that this was a reflection of feeling confined, of wanting things to get back to normal, of feeling completely vulnerable, trying to get away. Yeah, so that's
Right.
that's wild.
Yeah. And again, I could go and really dissect it, but for now, that feels correct, especially when you were talking about the collective consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and that gets in our dreams. And let's face it, no matter what, if this was gone tomorrow, it has affected our lives. Things are
Big
not
time.
going to go back to normal. And it was funny because I woke up, and sometimes I get dreams, but when upon awakening, my angels and guides will give me dreams. And what they showed me was a young girl taking selfies and making, how they stick out their butt and their lips and doing all that. And they basically said, we don't want a world like this. We want change, because let's face it, we're spoiled, okay, and we're catered to, and many people aren't living the lives they were, they came down on the earth to do, and that
Right.
is one of the reasons why this is happening.
Interesting point of view. Symbols are pretty much the language of our dreams, right?
Correct.
Share with us some of the common dream meanings that people have, those recurring dreams that I know you hear about over and over again.
Well, for one thing, I want to say that symbols are common, but you have to understand that symbols are unique to each person.
Okay.
This is just generic. You have to put in people's feelings, things that have occurred in their past, their upbringing, the society they live in, what's going on today, and even their future.
So I have one for you before you jump into the most common dreams that come up. Years ago, I was moving through an initiation process with the Changing Woman Sisterhood. And a couple of nights before our gathering and initiation ceremony, I dreamt that this very, very large brown bear was at the side of my bed, standing up and just completely in his bareness. I don't know, the word isn't growl, but making bear sounds at me, and very aggressively. And again, this was a thing where it was so real, Pamela, that when I woke up, I was just certain that really there isn't a bear here in my room. And again, the bear wasn't hurting me, but the bear was letting me know I'm here loud and clear. And when I shared it with my teacher and a couple of friends in the initiation weekend, their response was, "Oh, that's awesome. What an
Mm.
awesome dream for this time in your life." And I'm thinking, that's an interesting thing to think about, this, 300-pound bear that was 2 feet away from me in all of his bareness.
What comes to mind is bears. When you think about a bear, they're in their power. They're very powerful. They're very strong. They're respected by others. That's one. There's also the Native American way of looking at it. How did you feel in the dream?
Just really surprised. Why is there a bear in my, like, what are you doing? Why is there a
Okay.
bear in my room? Again, it was like the other dream I just shared. I didn't feel like I needed to run. I didn't really feel like I was
Okay.
going to be hurt. And yet there he was.
When I look at your dream, I look at it as like it's time for you to stand in your power and use your voice.
Yeah.
Speak your truth. And I don't know if you were doing the podcast back then or not, but that's what it seems like. Okay.
Yeah,
The bear.
that was the beginning of that work. The beginning
Okay.
for this particular podcast. I've been podcasting now
Right.
for 11 years, but interesting.
Yeah. Well, and the
So,
bear can be seen as your spirit animal too, your totem.
sure. Cool. Okay, so back to some common dream meanings and symbols.
Okay. Well, being naked in a dream.
Mm,
Okay. That can obviously show vulnerability. It can also show that it's time for you to bear yourself. Okay. Like to bear all.
mm,
That's another way of looking at it. But then again, I want to point out dream dictionaries are so generic. If a nun had a dream that she was naked in church, she would be obviously very upset and she wouldn't want to expose that self. So maybe she's hiding something and not exposing herself. But if it was a dream and it was a nudist who's very comfortable in his body, this wouldn't seem, this might just be a regular day at the nudist camp. Do you know what I mean?
sure.
It really does change. If you're feeling ashamed in the dream, another way to look at it is that you are ashamed of who you are. But then let's say you're in a business meeting with people and you're naked and you're feeling uncomfortable and not listened to. That might actually be a symbol that it's time to leave the corporate world and be who you truly are. That's why when people say, "Oh, what does this mean?" Let me go into a dream dictionary. And it's like, well, the way I describe it is when you learn your ABCs, you have to learn how to put it into words. Then it goes into sentences. Then it's the explanation or period, commas. Then it's grammar. Then
Right. On it goes. Sure.
And that's kind of what it is for symbols. Like for example, people dream about losing their teeth. And
Yes. I've had those years ago. I haven't had a losing my tooth dream in many years, but
right.
I used to have them in my prior life.
Right. And a lot of people say, well, that talks about fear of losing something, or you are losing something in your life, which makes a lot of sense. But it could also mean that you need to take better care of your teeth. I mean, logically,
right,
seriously.
Sure.
Or it might mean that you have a career as a dentist. It could also mean that you chew on things too much instead of staying in the moment and allowing things to be. You just chew things to death. You analyze over and over and over again, and you're losing out on life.
Right. Yeah, so many facets. I love that. So,
Yeah.
So when you are, I want you to continue talking about some of the common dreams. But when we're done with that, I would also like to have you share what things look like when somebody partners with you and how you start to break down their dreams.
Okay.
We'll do that after this.
A very common symbol is snakes. That's a very common symbol. And snakes can mean so many things. I mean, a snake sheds his skin, so it's about transformation. For a Christian, it could mean Adam and Eve, the snake in the garden, and it's evil. For people who are into Kundalini, the snake going up the spine, it could symbolize that. It can also symbolize medicine. And then, of course, it can symbolize a certain part on the male anatomy. So there's so many different things. But really, what is your feeling towards the snake? If you're scared, it could symbolize that you're scared to transform. If you're excited about seeing the snake, you're excited that you are transforming. If the snake is in your bed, that could be a sexual dream. But then again, you might have a pet snake. So it's your snake, I don't know, Fluffy or something.
Fluffy. What about, Pamela, what about when people dream about their own death and show up at their own funeral?
And quite honestly, it could mean that they're getting a precognition, which means a premonition of the future, that they're going to pass. But that doesn't necessarily mean that. That means that there is a part of their life, just like the death card in tarot, you see it on the TV show and they play that scary music. No, it's all about transformation.
Yeah.
So you're going into another part of your life. And it could also mean, depending on who's at your funeral, it's time to say goodbye to that group of people because you're moving on.
Gotcha. We absolutely have to cover the flying dreams, which are my favorite. When I fly in my dreams, I'm so very happy.
Right. And it could just mean that things are taking off for you. Also mean look at things in a new view. And you could just be having, and I have to admit, this is not my specialty, but you could be just having a lucid dream where you're visiting people and your spirit is flying over. And with that, what comes to mind is allow your spirit to be set free.
Do you believe that we can steer our dreams, that we can plan them before we go to sleep at night if we want to? I want to dream about X, and then you do?
Yeah. Now, again, lucid dreaming is not my specialty, but I will look into one dream category, which is one of my favorites, is solution dream. At night, you can ask, should I go out on a date with this man or this woman? And go to sleep and see what comes up in your dreams.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, business decision. You could use it for that. I use it all the time. Should I go this way in my business? Should I leave this subcontracting job? Should I take this subcontracting job? Should I take this job? Would it be good for me to move into this apartment? You can,
sure.
So you're setting yourself up. I mean, people have been doing that for years, and it's given them breakthrough through medicine and all aspects of our lives.
And I haven't thought about it as through dreaming. I mean, it's something that I do very naturally, and then there's a knowing that comes for me usually in the next day or two, and perhaps it's because I'm not remembering that piece of my dream, but certainly my question has been answered.
Definitely.
Why is it that some people never remember their dreams or claim that they never dream?
Some people are just very logical. So, it just slips from their mind. I feel that people who are more creative and intuitive remember their dreams more. And sometimes, like I said earlier, they're just too busy. They just keep going. And the other thing is denial. Because some dreams, as I said, they are the truth of what is going on in our lives and who we are, and they don't want to look at it. So they're kind of afraid. So they're like, oh, I just had this horrible dream. I'm going to forget it. And it might not be consciously, but that could be another reason. But we all do dream.
My daughter and I often have similar dreams. In the same evenings, and similar, if she has a dream where she struggles, I do, or if she has just a really wild ride of a dream, I do too, and we talk about our dreams a lot. And do you find that people who are living under the same roof can have an impact like that, where their subconscious is commingling?
Yes. And they could even, for all we know, they could be visiting each other in their unconscious mind, to speak. But yes, that can happen. It can also happen when they're not in the same household. Here's a perfect example. When I went to Paris and my cat Midnight, this was many years ago, she's since passed, I had a dream where she was looking for me and she couldn't find me because I was
In Paris.
in
Yeah.
Paris. I was not in the same continent. So yeah, and I mean that sounds kind of strange, but yes, you can share even with animals, your pets, you can share dreams.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. So take us through what it's like to partner with you and learn more about dream interpretation.
Well, obviously, I need to hear their dreams. And sometimes, depending on how long it is, I mean, obviously, short dreams are easier to interpret than long dreams. I like to hear the whole dream. I like to hear their feelings about it. Usually, quite honestly, intuitively, I will get what their dream is about.
Right.
But I also like to give several interpretations, is a good way of putting it. I will break down the symbols for them. I will put it together. I also like to do dream categories. So it could be a solution dream, it could be a premonition dream, health dream, a dream of deceased. I get a lot of questions about that in a nutshell. I also ask them questions because I want to get feedback from them on, does this feel right? What do you think this means to you?
Right.
And then kind of put it all together. It's really hard for me to break it down because with every person, it's different.
What you just explained didn't seem, it seemed like a real easy way to understand how you're doing it.
Right.
So
Okay.
it didn't seem hard at all. It seemed like you're very much listening, paying attention to your intuition, and getting as much information as you can before distilling all of that and sharing your interpretation that is coactively partnered with their interpretation.
Yeah. And sometimes one dream can have many different meanings.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to give them what I feel it is, but I also like to give them other possible dream interpretations because I'm not in their skin. And a lot of times, when somebody gives you an interpretation, it's like this inner ding and it goes ding, 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 ding.
Sure.
And what's sometimes funny is after I get off the phone or after I send their email dream interpretation, I'll be like, oh, it could also mean.
So that's cool. So you meet with them, listen to their story, and then compile information that they receive afterward?
No, I either do it on the phone or through Zoom or in that aspect, or I do it through email readings.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's
fantastic. What do you think is the best thing that we can all do for ourselves right now during this time of uncertainty? And so many people are saying they're not getting a good night's sleep. And if they're not getting a good night's sleep, perhaps they are or are not dreaming. Is there just anything that you'd like to leave us with that you think would be supportive for all of the dreamers out there?
First of all, I'm going to say, be open to it. Know that if you have a bad dream, you're not going to die. That there's some kind of wisdom. And I like to think of it as dreams are our teachers, or if you want to say, if you're into psychic readings, they're like free psychic readings. Allow yourself to dream. Have something where you can record it in, whether that's a journal or tape recorder or whatever, a video, whatever you feel comfortable, right by your nightstand or on the
Okay.
floor, and just allow it to come. Know that it's there to teach you something. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Thank you. Well, I've really enjoyed having a conversation with you today, Pamela. Dreams are just so fascinating, and I think it's really cool that you teach people how to interpret their dreams and support people through dream interpretation. And for our listeners, you can learn more about Pamela at learndreaminterpretation.com as well as pamelacummins.com. Both links will be in the show notes so that you can get right over to her web properties and learn more about her. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Pamela.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love talking about dreams, as you can tell. So thank you it was an honor to be here.